Hi everyone, this is Ekaterina and I hope that everyone had a really nice Christmas break, as well as I would like to wish everyone a happy new year. Now it has been certainly a quite busy month for myself. I've managed to travel to Estonia and visit my family. I also started packing as we'll be moving houses soon. So you will see things changing around me in the upcoming videos, certainly shelves becoming less populated. And it was also very nice just to have a little break from work and college. But we're back to our studies this week, and therefore, as promised, I will be now talking more about different therapy types. In particular, today I will be talking about person-centered therapy and how it was created, what is expected from the client and the counselor, what sort of difficulties clients may face when going through this therapy, as well as some additional skills or abilities that are expected from the counselors who want to be involved in person-centered therapy. So I hope you will find it interesting. Obviously in the upcoming videos we will be also covering cognitive behavior therapy as well as psychodynamic analysis, but today it's all about person-centered therapy. So this therapy has been founded by Carl Rogers, an American psychologist, in around 1940s. And truthfully, before I've started my study program, I haven't heard much about him, but certainly now that I have been introduced to his therapy model, I'm reading more about it. And on YouTube, there's also lots of little videos with his interviews with different clients, and it was remarkable to see what unique attitude he had to the clients. It's certainly something that I really liked, and as of now I would say of all the models I've learned about, this is probably the one I feel most interested in. So Carl Rogers believed that every single person, every single individual has the capacity, the power and the ability to become the true self, or the best they can be. And certainly it's also important to understand that as every one of us is unique, the way we experience the world is also different. Hence, we need to consider every single person as the true expert of themselves, because they are the only one who know what is best to them. So you'll see that there's already been a shift from the traditional model whereby the therapist or the counselor were considered to be the expert in the matter, to now a new view whereby we're saying the client is the true expert. Now, what it means for the client is that the sessions are definitely driven by themselves. So the counselor or the therapist don't have any agenda. So the clients are actually encouraged to bring issues or topics to each session, and this is really the time and the space for them to explore their feelings, their emotions, their actions, and really just bring any topic they want to the discussion without any fear of judgment or that they might be challenged on their behavior. And this is also considered to be a non-directive model. As I said, the client is the one driving the whole process, and there's generally no homework. Now, I know that for some clients this can be very frustrating, and certainly if you haven't done counseling before and this is your first experience, many clients tend to expect the counselors and the therapists to have answers to all their questions. They have a set of problems, I will come to my counselor, they will give me the answers. And then there can be rather frustrated when the counselor will not give them any information, but rather ask them to tell more about this topic. Let's explore. And I can tell that from my personal experience. I've certainly had that with my counselor, because I also kept asking for different tips on things I could change in my life, new little tasks I could try to apply to change my habits. And in my case, my counselor just kept kind of avoiding that question. And in the end, I think it took me a long time to understand why it was important for me to come to my own conclusions as opposed to just take what is given. And if you want to see an example of this as well, there's a really good informative video with Carl Rogers, an interview with an American lady called Gloria. It's a recording from 1965. And this lady has been actually involved in a sort of experiment whereby she did counseling with different therapists, and they all had very different ways of working. And one of those therapists was Carl Rogers. And in that interview, you can actually see how she's trying to get from Carl Rogers a very clear opinion on, what should she do? Is that the right way, or should she do it something else? And he does not give her that answer, and you can see that frustration. And again, it takes some time to learn to appreciate that. And certainly now that I'm learning about the person-centered therapy and I see it from the other side, I now appreciate it even more, and I understand how difficult it must have been for my counselor to avoid my questions. Nonetheless, you might wonder, well, why do we even need the therapist and the counselor in this particular therapy? Because if it's only going to be the client exploring their feelings and talking about their thoughts, well, what exactly the counselor will do? And here it's important to understand that the counselor or the therapist are actually going to be the listening facilitator. So they're there to really listen to your worries, and certainly they will be using a range of counseling skills that I've already discussed in my previous videos, such as active listening, solar model, paraphrasing, reflection, summarizing. So once in a while they will maybe repeat some of the words the client has just said, so that the client would be encouraged to maybe explore more that information, or even by hearing something said back to them, they might have a moment to think about it, let it sink in. So those moments of silence can be also very powerful. Or the counselor therapist can ask the questions to help the client explore the feelings. But in overall, the counselor or the therapist are not going to be interfering or interrupting your conversations, and they should really allow you to go through this process of self-discovery slowly at your own pace, and they're only there to guide you, to support you, to really help you understand that there are options, there are tools around yourself to help you solve the problems you have, but at the same time let you come to those solutions by yourself, so that if in the future you have similar issues, you already know what should I do. I should reflect on my feelings, I should really try to understand why I've done something and what can I do, and definitely choose the one solution that is best for you. And even though in the person-centered therapy, the counselors or therapists, they do mostly the listening part. However, Carl Rogers identified 3 sets of values or set of skills that a good therapist and counselor should possess before they can even provide the person-centered therapy. So the first one is unconditional positive regard, or UPR. And this means that the client can really bring any topic to the table, to the sessions, and there will not be any judgment. So the counselor really needs to just accept the information as such, and they obviously cannot give their opinion or express their own personal thought on a particular matter. The second point is congruence. So it's a term that I found maybe the most difficult out of the 3. And this is about the counselor or the therapist being a genuine, honest person, meaning that you really want to be on the same level with the client, as if you're having just a nice conversation. You're not expected to be higher than the client. You're not the expert. You're here a companion, your support, and you're certainly still expressing yourself as a real person. You're not trying to act or be somebody you are not. And finally, it's about empathy. And as I think I already described previously, empathy is about really trying to understand another person's point of view, how they're perceiving and experiencing the world. To simply put, it's about seeing the world through another person's eyes, as opposed to seeing your own world reflected in their eyes. And I think it's a very simple explanation, but certainly really powerful. So there's those specific skills that the counselor needs to possess, and I think through the counseling skills sessions we already had previously, we've been already building up the solid foundation for those skills as well. Now, I also wanted to share with you a couple of examples of what sort of issues people can address in person-centered therapy. And one of them is linked to the term congruence, the same one I've just used as one of the skills necessary for the counselor. Now, congruence describes a healthy well-being state whereby individual has a reasonably consistency between their ideal self and their actual behavior. I think everyone can easily imagine that nowadays, quite often, young people particularly, through their exposure to the social media and reality TV, they start to build this image of where they should be, how they should be living, how they should be looking. So they're creating this image of their ideal self, and then they're comparing it to where they think they are. And the bigger the gap between your ideal self and where you think you are, the more frustrated you might feel. It might result in depression, anxieties, very low self-esteem, low self-confidence, and it's certainly not a very happy way of living. Now, another thing to remember is that apart from the ideal self and who we are, there's also perceived self. So quite often people actually are not comparing ourselves with ideal self, they're comparing what they're perceived to be ourself with the ideal self, which could be even further away. And to really see who you are, not everyone can do it easily. And this is also one of the goals of the person-centered therapy, is to really help you to discover your true self, who you truly are, what you are. And as we're getting closer to who we really are, sometimes our understanding of who we want to become changes, and sometimes we become so happy in discovering our true self that you might not even want to go there. You might get to your true self and think, actually, I'm really good. So that's one of the things that you might explore in the person-centered therapy. Another type of issues that the clients can bring to the person-centered therapy is when they feel like they're living their lives only to please others. So they've lost themselves in this whole process and they no longer know what they truly want for themselves. And this is often linked to so-called conditions of self-worth, which we establish from early childhood. And I'll give you an example. Let's say your parents are really interested in you doing well in school. So every time you have a good mark or you pass a test, they are happy, they show you their love, they might give you gifts. But once you fail a test or an exam, they actually show that they're quite saddened by this, and maybe there's even some sort of punishment. So as a child, you start to build this sort of framework of rules of how to live to please people around yourself. And one of those could be, I need to study well. Only then I get love, I get attention. Now, this is only a simple example, but there might be other type of things that children pick up and they think they need to do in order to please people around themselves, in order to get gifts or that love, or just to make people happy. And some of those things are very easy to identify, and some of them are much more deeper in our unconscious mind. However, they still stay in our adult life, and certainly they affect our day-to-day life, meaning that, yes, we start living our life by those rules without sometimes even realizing. However, in the person-centered therapy, as you'll be exploring your feelings, your emotions, and really trying to understand, why did I do something in a particular way? Why am I feeling these particular emotions in this moment? You will become more self-aware, and hopefully you will start to trust your own opinions and slowly start to make decisions for yourself and really, do things that make you happy and not somebody else. So again, if you have this sort of issues, probably person-centered therapy could really be helpful. So lastly, I also wanted to mention that person-centered therapy doesn't really have a very fixed duration period, meaning that some people might want to do it very short term and some people do it long term, sometimes for years. And even though they don't see maybe their counselor every single week, but they like the idea of seeing somebody every couple of months just to go through some of the kind of latest thoughts or latest issues. So it's really case by case. Obviously, if you are doing your therapy through NHS, you will be most probably limited to a number of sessions. But if you're doing it privately, you could continue doing it for as long as you feel you need it. Also, this sort of therapy model is available to individuals, to couples, to families, to groups. So there is a variety of options you might have, and obviously there will be potentially different price tag depending on which one you go privately. And finally, I just wanted to remind people that quite often we don't know when should we seek professional help. When is the time to go and see a counselor? And we try to leave it until we're really, really depressed, until we are on the edge, and only then look for help. But certainly if you feel like you have some anxieties, you have some moments when you feel rather depressed, or you have generally low self-esteem, low self-confidence, or you feel like you need some support with resolving some of your maybe internal conflicts or some problems with other people, then certainly I would highly recommend to try person-centered therapy and see how it goes, because you will learn more about yourself. You will definitely become more self-aware. You will hopefully learn to love yourself for who you are, and also become more confident in making some decisions in your life, looking for options, looking for tools you have around yourself to change your life for the better, and applying those rules in the best way possible that suits yourself. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and next week we'll be talking about cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT. I believe this is the one that has most publicity. And once again, I would like to thank you for your attention. Please like this video, leave your comments, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel. And most importantly, remember to take good care of yourself. Happy New Year everyone once again, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.